Hi, everybody. Hero here, and I'm excited to be here. Professor Cashflow, if you know me by that moniker. And today we're going to talk about what is a real estate note. So a lot of investors don't know. They hear about it, they hear about this, hear about tax liens. One of the things, what is a note? Well, it's very simple. It's a promise to pay, otherwise known as a promissory note. So that's it. It's a promise to pay. It's a stream of income. It's passive income. It's cash flow. So it's a great way to make money. And people make loans. And people often do this without just real estate. They often do it with cars. And that's one of the great examples I use. If I have a car and I'm selling it to you for $20,000 and all you have is $2,000, I might say, well, give me the 2,000 because I want to get rid of this car and you want to get the car. And so what you do is you pay me the rest over time. And that's what it is. Now we can agree on interest rate. We can talk about a lot of things, how often you get paid. Maybe you pay monthly and then you pay a bunch of it all at once at the end. It's called a balloon payment. But what is really required in a real estate note or any kind of note really to be legal? So first of all, you need to have the names of the people. Now in a note, somebody's borrowing money from a lender, somebody's lending money. So you've got the borrower and the lender. Now the borrower's signature is required. Now, why isn't the lender's signature required? So if you think about it, the lender is taking money. So he doesn't have to sign up for the ability to take money. He just has to be identified so that the borrower is obligated to make payments. The loan amounts, also the interest rate and fees, if any, that has to be specified in the note. Otherwise, it can't be collected. And then the payment schedule, how much, how often, as I said. Some loans, you don't make any payments until sometime down the road, and then you pay it all back at once. So it's just a balloon payment. Other payments are fully amortized. For those of you who've bought a house, you understand and even a car loans are generally fully amortized. It just means that you're paying a part of the principal and the interest every month in equal payments until the balance that you owe goes to zero and the payments are done. But I have here some common questions. Is a promissory note the same as a mortgage? Well, it's a common term. Mortgages are actually a security instrument. So it's not the note, but a mortgage is one way that you secure the note, meaning that if somebody doesn't make payments on that, according to that note, what happens? They just walk away scot-free? Well, no. If they used it to buy a house and they stop making payments, you know what happens. The bank comes and takes the house, and that's called a foreclosure. So a mortgage is similar. It's a common term for a house loan, but a mortgage is typically a security instrument that's used in some states. In California, where I live, we typically use trust deeds, and they're very similar. A mortgage is basically kind of like a car loan where you don't get the pink slip until you've paid it off. With a mortgage, you don't get the title until you've paid off the loan, whereas with a trust deed, you get the deed, you get title of the property, but the bank has a lien on the property. So it's a fine point, but that's something that's different. So that's the basic difference. What happens if there is a late payment or if the loan isn't repaid? Well, that's one of the terms that could be in there. It's not required, but most promissory notes on real estate will have some sort of late payment. You want to encourage the people to pay on time. Also, what happens with payments that are not made? Is that interest accrued? And you should know the difference between simple and compound interest. So simple interest is where you are just paying interest on the principal, not on the interest that's accrued. Whereas compound interest, you're paying interest on any interest that's accrued. So if you're lending, you want to use compound interest because that increases your yield. If you're borrowing, you want to use simple interest because that decreases the amount of money that you have to pay. So, one thing, I see a question here. One of the things that people ask is, are verbal promises and verbal contracts, if you will, are those legitimate? Do they work? Well, they're technically legal. However, they're unenforceable. So stay away from verbal contracts. Make sure you get everything in writing and everything gets signed. Other terms that are useful is, like I said, late payment, the collateral of the property that secures the loan. So it's not required, but if it's a mortgage or a trust deed, you will have the loan secured by real property, which means if the person doesn't make the payment, you get to take the asset back. And a lot of times they put the date and the place of issuance. It's not necessary. So why do we really care, right? I mean, if you're buying a house, you might care, but if you've already got your house and you've already got a note in place and you're making payments, why should you care about real estate notes? Are you ever going to get another one? Well, when you buy another house, sure. But real estate notes are a great way to make money. They're a great way because what you can do is now you can become the bank. So just as the bank, I mean, the bank owns all the big buildings in the city, not all of them, but a lot of the tallest buildings are owned by the banks because they know how to make money work for them. And notes are a way that you can make money work for you, where you can be the bank. So let's just really quickly compare a little bit between a landlord versus a holding a note. Landlords have to deal with tenants, termites, toilets, taxes, all that stuff. So they might get a call in the middle of the night saying, hey, the toilet backed up, come and fix it. And you got to take care of that. Also, they have a tendency to get sued if somebody falls on their position. So you have to have a lot of insurance in place to make sure that doesn't happen. You have to worry about protecting your assets from people who might come along and see that you're on title. Well, you're not on title when you're the bank. Of course, you sometimes record your liens, but the nice thing is nobody ever calls the banker in the middle of the night about a clogged toilet, or nobody ever sues the bank when somebody falls and trips and breaks a hip. So a lot of advantages, but the biggest advantage is that it's completely passive. There's no management. As long as those payments keep rolling in, you just keep taking it in. And that's a great way to invest in an IRA. Because if you know anything about investing in independent retirement accounts and even 401ks, solo 401ks, which are also self-directed, you cannot do things that require self-dealing. And that's where you mingle your assets or your money or your even time work with the IRA. The IRA is a separate entity. So it gets special treatment from the IRS in exchange for you not treating it like it's your own money. It's got to be separate. So the old story is if you own a rental house in an IRA, you can buy a light bulb for that house. But if you screw it in, you just broke the law. You just, technically violated your IRA, and the IRS could come if you do sweat equity, or you loan to yourself, or you let one of your kids live in the house that's in your IRA. You could technically lose all of the tax advantage of your IRA and get it immediately distributed. So notes are a great way to invest in an IRA because they're totally passive. There's no way for you to do any work on to rehab it because you're not actually owning the house. So let's see. You can also create notes with seller financing. If you're selling a property and somebody doesn't have all the money, you can go ahead and make them a loan. If somebody, let's say an appraisal came in low and you still wanted to sell the house, you could take back, you could loan them the money for the difference. So let's say they had, a $500,000 house deal for sale for $500,000. If it only appraised for $450,000, you could just write up a note for that extra $50,000. The bank would take care of the $450,000, and then you have a note where the buyer pays you every month, and that becomes an interest payment. You can purchase notes from other investors like me. You can purchase notes from hedge funds, but it's hard to do. You can also contact banks and talk to the asset managers. Again, a lot of work. So the better way to do it, if you're not a professional, real estate professional, is to talk to somebody who is, someone like me, and there are many other reputable sources out there, and find out how you can invest in notes. So I would love to have you comment. I would love for you to go to my website. You can either go to Professor Cashflow, or you can go to monthly passive profits. passive monthly profits, PMP. So passivemonthlyprofits.com. And I would love to hear from you, or put a comment down underneath this video. I'll be happy to get a hold of you, and we can talk more about how notes can help you create passive income. Thanks, and have an awesome day. And today being Friday for me, if it's a Friday for you, you have an awesome weekend. I plan to do the same. Take care. Bye-bye.